and of course he went on to beat PSG by 7 goals to 3 in the Champions League, which was one of the highlights of our season. I have recreated Taofiq's Miracle 1 tactic in Football Manager 2026. Now if you don't know what the Miracle 1 tactic is, it is the tactic that actually went on to win the Football Manager FIFAe World Cup in 2024. It was also one of the best tactics across Football Manager up until 2025, and it has long since been regarded as the greatest Football Manager tactic of all time. However, in FM 2026, there's a lot of nuances as to how the roles would actually come to play with the new in possession and out of possession combined player roles. These are the roles that I went for and the team instructions that went on to build up the Miracle 1 tactic. In goal, you have a ball playing goalkeeper when he's in possession of the ball. When the team is in possession, the ball playing goalkeeper is going to act like a super keeper from 2024. He's going to be the one to move the ball around, take a bit more risk, and also be part of the build-up play. Out of possession, however, the goalkeeper is going to act like a sweeper keeper. The only instruction you want for him is to tackle harder. If you go ahead and check the out of possession role, sweeper keeper is going to come off his line and try to stop counter-attacks. In central defense, we have ball-playing centre-back. Now, the ball-playing centre-backs have very slightly different instructions from what we knew in FM 2024. Now, they can't actually make forward runs, but they can, however, dribble into space. So they will dribble a lot more, and they're also going to try and take more risks. That is a locked instruction for the ball playing centre back anyway. Out of possession, he's going to act like a normal centre back, only that he's going to tackle a bit harder. There's no need to force the marking instruction, just tackle harder is enough. And if you look at the player role, even though he's kind of confused right now, out of possession, your centre back is going to be a normal centre back. Now remember, you're going to do this for both centre backs. So the centre back on the left hand side is going to be pretty much the same. He's locked with his runs, but he's going to dribble a bit more. He's also going to take a bit more risk. And when he's out of possession, he's going to tackle harder. The fullbacks are sort of different in FM 2026, to be honest. They kind of behave differently, but the instructions pretty much are the same. You're going to ask the fullback to stay wider, cut inside with the ball, and he's also going to make further runs. If you go back to the fullback instruction, they're going to ask him to make a lot more runs forward. He's also going to take a bit more risk. He's going to cross on the byline, and he's going to just play with normal passing directness, not too short, not too long. Out of possession, however, he's going to tackle harder. If you look at his player role, he's also going to just act like a normal fullback, not pressing, not holding. This is the same instruction for the fullback on the right hand side. If we go back to the fullback on the right, he's been asked to stay wider, cut inside with the ball, make forward runs, take more risk, play normal passing, and of course cross from the byline. In case you notice that the fullback is shooting aimlessly, that's something we don't really have control over in FM 2026. You can go ahead and ask him to discourage or shoot less often, or discourage just long shots. We'll look at that in team instructions. But by default, it is left to just normal standard shooting. Now in defensive midfield, we have our famous pairing of two defensive midfielders. Now the defensive midfielder on the right hand side, he's going to dribble less, and he's also going to make fewer runs. So they're going to be the ones to protect the defense. No other instruction for them. In some cases, you can choose to take more risk. But according to Ishan's approach, you have to find good playmakers that can actually play this role. So they have the passing range and the player attributes that will encourage them to play through passes and risky passes. So there was no need to actually force it. Out of possession, your defensive midfielder is going to just be a standard defensive midfielder. No other instructions assigned to him. Out of possession, your defensive midfielder is just going to be a normal defensive midfielder with one instruction that says tackle harder. If you look at this instruction, there we go. One instruction: out of possession, tackle harder. You're going to do this for the defensive midfielder on the left hand side. It's just going to be a normal defensive midfielder both in possession and out of possession with one instruction that says tackle harder. Now for the front four is where it really gets interesting for the Miracle 1 tactic. You have a front four with two inside forwards on the left and on the right hand side. The inside forward on the right hand side has been asked to stay a bit wider. He's also going to make forward runs. He's going to hold on to possession of the ball. He's going to take a bit more risk, and when he's out of possession, he's going to mark tighter and tackle harder. He's also going to mark a specific player, which is the opposition's left back. You can select the instruction that says mark specific position. Go ahead and switch that and select the opposition's left back. It's pretty similar for the inside forward on the left hand side. If you go ahead and select the inside forward on the left, you're going to go ahead and add a few instructions. Of course, the width, you want him to stay a bit wider. Go ahead and turn that on, ask him to stay a bit wider. And of course, it's also going to hold on to possession of the ball and wait for the fullback to actually get ahead. And when he's out of possession, you're going to go back to out of possession instructions, ask him to mark tighter, ask him to tackle harder, and mark specific target, which is the opposition's right back. Now the last role that was difficult to fill in this attack was the center forward. The center forward in this sense is the channel forward. The channel forward is the closest thing we have to the advanced forward from FM 2024. The channel forward is high energy role that looks to constantly be a thorn in defensive side, regularly making forward runs into the channels for the team. When the team is on attacking, the channel forward is going to look to be a constant runner at the opposition's team. That is similarly what the advanced forward did in FM 2024. It's going to offer an option for direct balls, so balls in behind the opposition's defense, the channel forward is going to be the ones latching onto those balls. No much instructions for him. He's going to move into channels, and that is a default instruction for the channel forward anyway. No other instructions except out of possession. You can go into his instructions and ask him to tackle harder, but there was no need for me to actually force that, so I left it on default. So those are the player rules for the Miracle 1 tactic on Football Manager 2026. You can look at both tactics now and see them in comparison. You notice in this sense that we have the wingers placed slightly lower, but this is just a personal preference for me. You can actually drag the wingers up front and then change their roles from wide midfielders to wingers. Both roles are default, and what really works for the player here is the internal player instructions that you set for them. I noticed that this particular shape is quite defensive. It's useful in FM26 because we tend to concede a lot of goals in every other save that you play in FM26 for some reason. So I noticed that having them slightly deeper sort of help, but in case you want to go for gung-ho, full-on attack, full-on press, you can have your wingers play all the way up here as normal wingers. Notice that you cannot really select an inside winger for an out of possession instruction, so you just have them as normal wingers. You can choose to either use a tracking, outlet, or outside winger, but I really just wanted to have a normal winger. In my case, the wide forward or wide midfielder that I had playing this particular role is what I went on to use for the system. Now that is it for the player roles. You can look at the team instructions and see how the team is actually set up. I'll just open all the instructions to get everything out of the way. Passing directness is going to be shorter, and you're going to set your tempo to a higher tempo, not extremely high tempo. The time wasting is turned off, so your team is going to play with less often time wasting. You're also going to hit the teams on the counter attack. You also want to play with attacking width much narrower. If you notice that you're actually struggling to break teams down, you can shift this to normal attacking width. It sort of works okay for me. You also want to play attacking set pieces, because if you have set piece routines set up for yourself and you know you score from your set piece routines, you can have them turned on. If you don't have any set piece set up, there's not really much difference in this one. You can try to keep the ball in play and then hold on to possession of the ball that way. Creative freedom is not really chosen to be either expressive or disciplined, just have it on balance. You're playing out of defense, so your build-up strategy is going to be set to play through the press. That is the default setting for the Miracle 1 tactic anyway, play out of defense. Your goalkeeper is also going to take short kicks, and you're not really setting who is going to distribute the ball to, just playing it short to anybody, either the centre backs or the fullbacks. Now the supporting runs are really important in the Miracle 1 tactic. You can go ahead and select those supporting runs now. Overlap is set to balance, and underlap has been set to look for the underlap on both flanks, because the fullbacks are going to be cutting inside and the inside forwards are going to be so wide. So you want to have that underlapping run so the inside forwards can actually hold on to possession of the ball while the fullbacks make drifting runs into the center, and then you can play passes to them. That is the way it worked in FM24, and it's really similar in FM26 as well. Back to the instructions, we go into dribbling, and you want to encourage your team to run at the opposition's defense a bit more, so that's why you have to encourage dribbling turned on. You're also going to play through both flanks. You're going to try to exploit the left and the right hand side. Now another important part of this system, I'm going to leave it to you, is the patience. You can choose to walk the ball into the box, but by default, the Miracle 1 tactic doesn't actually force this walk the ball into the box instruction. It doesn't also force the instruction to discourage shooting from distance. But we know how FM26 has been in the last few weeks, to be honest. Your players just shoot as carelessly as they feel like, and if you notice that is happening a lot, tend to disable that instruction and just discourage shooting and then turn and walk the ball into the box. But by default, you can leave it on standard and balanced. Low crossing is going to be the option here, but if you have a tall striker, by all means, play your floated crosses and encourage your team to actually float crosses into the box. Out of possession instruction, I'm going to want to use the visualizer to do this. Now you can have by default, the overview was set to allow your team to play with the high press. You're also going to play with a higher defensive line. The defensive line is also going to step up a bit more if you go ahead to, or let's say you're trying to press and you're not in possession of the ball. You want to shift the defensive line slightly higher up so you can force the press and try to win the ball back that way. You're also going to play with a much more often trigger press. You're also going to cause your team to counter press when they lose possession of the ball. Instantly, that's going to be your turn. The tackling is also going to be hard, so you're going to tell the team to get stuck in and try to hassle the opposition and win the ball back. If you look at the way we set up here for cross engagement in the low block, you want to actually invite crosses, but I didn't really see much influence with what this did. In case you don't have the tallest strikers, I don't recommend that you do this. You can just leave it on balance or stop crosses if you're conceding too many goals from crosses. The essence of the Miracle 1 tactic, as good as it was, it did go through a lot of tweaking, so it's not something that you just plug and play, to be honest. I never really thought the Miracle 1 tactic was a plug and play tactic. I just thought that it was a really good tactic that you could actually tweak it. So invite crosses is default. If you notice that it's not working, turn it off. I do recommend you watch the matches, don't just run through them thinking that it's something is going to just magically work out like that. You have to see what is working and tweak it according to your team, because every team is different, right? In the mid block, we have a pressing trap that is set to balance. We're not forcing them outside or inside. We're just going to defend normally. And in the high press, you can see that we're also preventing the short goalkeeper distribution, forcing the teams to go long so we can win the ball from the header. This is good if you have 12 players in your team. If you notice that you're not winning the headers, there's no point forcing the goalkeeper to go long, because you might just lose possession. Try to encourage the goalkeeper to play short so you can press him and win the ball. So that is the Miracle 1 tactic on Football Manager 2026. You will want to see some results, so I did show you a sneak peek into the results. But let's look at how we did with Bayern Munich. We did go on to win our last how many games whatsoever. I think we won almost every trophy, to be honest. But looking at the way we played, we had a lot of wins in there. We beat Cologne 6-1. We beat Wolfsburg, and I'm just looking at the top victories. I know we lost to Barcelona in the Champions League for some reason. That was a narrow 1-0 defeat to Barcelona in the Champions League. We beat Dynamo Kiev 6-1. We beat Bayer Leverkusen 6-1. We also beat Bayer Leverkusen again DFB Pokal. We went all the way to win that tournament as well. We also beat Leipzig in the Bundesliga by 4-0. We did lose to Real Madrid in friendly, but that was early on in the season. And of course, we went on to beat PSG by 7-3 in the Champions League, which was one of the highlights of our season, to be honest. We had some other good victories in there, like a 5-0 win over Wolfsburg. We also beat Maccabi Tel Aviv by 5-0. Some of the other victories are 2-1. We did lose some games because I know this is not perfect, like I said. We lost to Frankfurt by 3-0. We lost to Borussia Dortmund, again 2-1. This was in the Bundesliga, but it didn't really affect us that much. We went on to win the Bundesliga anyway, like I do expect with Bayern Munich. But that is the way the system turned out. Do let me know how the tactic works out for you. I will try to create a link for this tactic. I've been struggling to create links and share the file. I don't know why it's not working for me. It's why I've not been able to share links. And I try to make these videos as comprehensive as possible so you can go ahead and recreate the tactic for yourself. In case you're wondering why I've not been sharing links, it's because I can't. I try to upload them, it doesn't work. I don't know why. So it's why we've not been getting links, but hopefully I'll try to do that. And if it doesn't work, please follow along with the video from beginning to the end so you can see all the player roles, all the team instructions, all the player instructions, I guess. And that is the Miracle 1 tactic.